By the way, let's switch then. So, Peak, explain this to me. Gio set it up already. If there's one team shouldn't be in the final, it should be the Louds team that had to sell their best players to another big squad. Like, everyone would expect they should be like, what, quarterfinals at best or something. Like, how does this team go to the final, almost win the tournament, Peak, with the loss of those players?
I think it has to do with the core. Just last run, they saw exactly all the things that they did well, and I think it just has it's a matter of being self-aware for the core. Coaching staff change as well, so it's obviously not only the coaching staff, and I don't know if it's the players having a big say in who is brought on onto the team, like who is brought on for players, coaches, or if the management does. But management and players, I guess, they are probably really self-aware of the last run and analyzed it, and that's how they did it. So when they go and trial people, you don't want exact copies of those players. You look for maybe the traits that they brought that snowballed within the team, and you try to find the same thing, and then you work with that, and you basically just adapt to a new flavor, but the recipe is still the same, if that makes sense. Get a bit vague here, but I hope that's enough.
No, it's all good. Yeah. What do you think, Gio? How did they do it? Like, did the new players actually look like they with star player level material?
Cao and Zine for sure. Like, well, the finals itself was maybe not his best game of the tournament, but I think that Cao and Zine looked like an absolute nutbag, like for majority of the tournament. And I think that was actually a really big talking point in just the overarching narrative that you kind of saw got discussed on the desk throughout a lot of the tournament, was the fact that Loud managed to find this player who he's really young and is just exceptional. And so it doesn't feel like there's a huge gap that's been left behind in the wake of Sassy and Pancada. And that's not to ignore Tuiz, because he also did pretty well as well. But like Cao and Zine in particular was just spoken about like really heavily. And, I think it helped that, players like Aspas and Les played especially less in the finals, played so consistently, like did a really, really good job. And so you still have that kind of backbone of the team that's been there from the core that can kind of help lead that forward. And especially with this meta actually involving Sentinel players now, and you can play a Killjoy, and it's like, you're not missing those parts of your composition. You put less on Killjoy. Les did a really good job on that. So you still have these strengths that are like helping to keep the team really buoyant. And then just two very impressive players. And obviously some of that is going to come down to like how they've been practicing together. Because at the end of the day, it's still two new players, right? And so it could always be that you put those players in, they don't synergize, you show up to the tournament and you play like arse, even though individual performances may be okay. But in this case, clearly whatever they've done as far as like boot camping or scrimming or practicing or whatever goes, they've found their flow. I think it probably also helps the fact that like Sadhak is still on the team, and so he's obviously kind of been IGLing and giving a lot of direction, and it's not like they've had to replace that and find something new in that place. Whereas like if you look on the side of Sentinels, where Sassy and Pancada went, they're not in that same situation, right? Like they uprooted their IGL and what sort of defined the way that team played. So that's a very different sort of scenario, even though those two players themselves are very good.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.